Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Seasonal Tokens Podcast, where Polar interviews people so you can do more investing and less gambling.
Hello everyone, it is Polar here, the CMO of Seasonal Tokens, and today we have another very interesting guest. Today we have Roy that is going to share with us more about his blockchain and crypto experience. Welcome, Roy.
Thank you, Po. Thank you so much for having me today. And it's great to be here on your podcast. I've been listening to the last few episodes and I always kind of make it a point to listen to them. So thank you so much for getting me here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. And thank you very much for taking the time to also listen part of my episodes. And I hope that you have enjoyed them. So let's go to the first question, which is always my favorite one, which is can you introduce yourself and your background with a few words?
Sure. So I am from Bengaluru, India. I am a digital marketer by profession and a podcaster by midnight. That's how I like to introduce myself. Basically, my background is I started into computer science engineering as a programmer. I used to like the data part of it, not the programming part of it much, which is why I kind of transitioned to a digital marketing role, because I thought I'll be able to use my experiences and my love for data for progressing my career. I am also an MBA from one of the B schools out here, so I have a bit of knowledge about business as well. And outside of my full-time job, I'm currently having this podcast, which is the MetaRoy podcast. You can check it out on any of those channels. Yeah, that is a bit about myself.
Great. Thank you very much for this short and nice introduction. So, like I mentioned in the beginning, we are here together on this podcast because you have a good knowledge that you can share with our audience. But can you share with me and all of our listeners what has actually made you to choose Web3?
I think there are a few things that I really like about Web3 itself as a space. If you see the origins of the internet, the Web 1 world, if I have to say it that way, it was always conceived to be, the data was always conceived to be in the power of the people, right? You had ownership of everything that you were putting on the internet. Even if you were writing something like a blog or a website content, that content used to be with you, right? In the Web 1 space. In Web 2, this kind of has moved towards different other companies like Facebook and Google kind of learning about you, your data, and they capturing this data about you and making personas about you and selling this data off to other people for money. I think that is where we lost the ownership of our own data and the privacy aspect of it. And that is what is really attracting me to the Web3 space, because in the Web3 space, you have your data with you, you have control over your finances, your money is in your hands, and you don't have to depend on any centralized authorities to kind of take care of your money or your data for you, right? Even you don't even have to depend on a bank, for example, even if you're using like a DeFi protocol, for example. So I think this removal of this third party, which is between us, is kind of the main reason which attracted to me. And of course, the privacy of this entire industry is what. And I kind of understand that this is where we are going to, because blockchain is here to stay, right? Blockchain is just going to be developed into newer and newer aspects. Every government itself is kind of using aspects to help its citizens. Companies are using blockchain in their own processes. So blockchain is definitely here to stay. So all of these aspects is kind of what make me attracted to the Web3 space.
Absolutely. You have mentioned a lot of the reasons why I'm also part of the blockchain industry, and I believe that it will be with us forever. Like you just mentioned, probably there will be a Web 4 after many, many years. But for now, I think that Web 3 can help us to solve a lot of problems that ordinary people like me and you are worried about, like privacy, like giving money for nothing for third parties that are doing actually nothing for this money, but just because they are the third party, they're getting their piece of the pie and we are losing money because of that. So I definitely agree with you that blockchain has to be with us and it can help us a lot. So you have mentioned, and I also know that you have a podcast and you have interviewed some great guests there. So what has actually motivated you to start podcasting?
Well, when I started knowing and learning about the crypto and the Web3 space in general, right? So one of the things that I was having challenges was having a certain single authority or a single point where I know that I can just go to this resource and learn everything there is about Web3, right? And unfortunately or fortunately, I never found such a space. Always there was this category that you had to go into, or, this particular thing. And it kind of seemed almost the same. You go to any website which teaches you about crypto and Web3 space, and it all seems the same to you, right? It's not personal. It's just information being thrown at you. And that is why I kind of felt myself that I was not able to learn from it. So the first thing I did was I went to YouTube and started learning from them. But YouTube itself got so much crowded, and so much people were talking all different things and fighting with each other and contradicting each other on podcasts like that. So I wanted to build a place where people can just come, people can listen to other people who are building actually in this space, right? We are in a bear market right now, and there is so much negativity going around that people are just negative about this space, and people are just not ready to believe in the crypto narrative itself. But I wanted to build this space to understand from these real experts, the people who are actually building in this space, the people who are actually building the future for us, right? And understand in their own words, in their own stories, how they came to be in the Web3 space, how they kind of had the ideas for their project, how they met their team members, and how they were working all over the world as a single team, right? So I think those are the stories that need to come out, and that is the objective of my podcast, apart from obviously making it simple itself for the people to understand, because understanding this space requires some technical knowledge. And because I understand the technology, and because I understand some bit of the Web3 space, I would say, I think I can make this simple enough and learn from these experts myself. When I'm talking about this space, I can learn from these experts myself and, give an impression that it's not just them. They should not feel alienated, that they are the only people who don't know about this space. I come across as even I don't know about this space, and I'm trying to learn from that expert who is trying to see. I want to be their friend. I want to come across as anybody learning on my podcast should feel like, oh, this is a friend I'm talking to. That's the objective of my podcast.
Nice. So, like we have talked before we started the podcast, I think that you are doing your part of educating people and helping them to navigate the stormy world of crypto and helping them to find their place in it. Because, like we mentioned this many times already, like crypto is going to stay, so people will need more information, actually trustable information places where they can educate themselves, so it can be easier for them. So you have had a good amount of guests so far. So my question for you is, based on these interviews, is there something that you have learned from them that you haven't known before that?
Absolutely, I have. So the most funniest thing that I learned in one of my interviews, the guest said that it's called the Web3 space because you kind of only sleep for 3 hours in a day, right? And because this space is always active, the people are always doing new things, and it changes in every 3 weeks. That's why it's called Web3. That was the funniest thing I learned. But on a more serious note, I think it's more important to understand that where do you go to educate yourself? Which are those resources that you can use to educate yourself? And how are you approaching the community in this space, right? So are you going to the right places? Are you going to the right communities and talking about crypto, or are you believing in some random people who are just ranting about, how this space is bad and it's just a fad that is going to go off? Which are those communities you're listening to? That is what is most important to me. And I think that is what the most important thing I've learned. Apart from that, it's also important to learn how you can educate yourself. Investing in crypto is definitely much, much more difficult than investing in the stock market or the bond market, for example. So it is always very important that you educate yourself about the crypto space. And obviously, as anybody in this space will tell you, always prepare for the worst, because extremely volatile space, and you will every day feel like your value of your investments is just dropping and whatnot. But don't believe them. I would just say people are there. People are really helping you out in this space. And even Po, you and me, right? We just met on this space and we started talking about this. So it is important to understand that this community is there to support you. That is the most important aspect that I have learned in this space. And that is what makes the most difference.
I absolutely agree with you. Like I have mentioned in one of my previous episodes, that I have been able to meet some of the greatest people in my life in a very, very short amount of time. And we have become friends without even like seeing each other in the real world, without having a coffee together, just because we have started with the good intentions of helping each other. So I definitely agree with you that there are a lot of great people that truly want to help you, but also there are some people that want to make money because of you. So be careful and make the right choice about that. So it seems that you have had great guests, and I'm sure that they have shared a lot of valuable tips during the shows. But just because I suppose most of our listeners haven't had the chance to listen to your episodes, so can you share with me what do you think people should know about or implement as part of their crypto investment strategy based on your interviews with experts?
Absolutely. For my investing purposes, and this is including what I've learned from guests and what I implement myself as well from my own research, the first one obviously is first educate yourself. Are you investing in a crypto because you know the background behind it, or you are just investing in crypto because somebody told you to, right? The intent is very important. Even if you're investing in something as safe as Bitcoin, understand why Bitcoin was made. If you can, just read the white paper or go to a YouTube channel that actually talks about the Bitcoin white paper and helps you understand in a simple term, right, what it kind of means, for example, right? So education is the first thing. The second thing I've learned is always have a strategy for crypto trading. Sometimes people go with their emotions and try to invest in cryptos, just listening to some YouTuber out there or podcaster saying, go and invest because it's the right time, but it's not the right time for everybody, right? So you should always have a strategy yourself. Are you going in this space with the intention of investing, or are you going in this space with the intention of trading? If you're going into this space with the intention of trading, that's also fine, but always ensure that you know where your risks are, right? You always have a risk management strategy in place. You know which level you're going in and which level you're going out, and always try to follow those levels. That is the most important thing that I feel is important. Managing risk is, everybody talks about rewards, right? Because we know that crypto is something that can give us those 10x, 100x rewards, which none of these other industries or markets may give you. But it's also important that you understand the risks involved in it. What percentage of your portfolio are you actually investing in this particular category, and what are the risk factors behind each of the coins that you're investing in, right? If you're investing in Bitcoin, even Bitcoin for that matter is not risk free, right? It has risks associated with it. Ethereum has risks associated with it. So understanding those risks is the most important thing. Understanding the flow of money that happens. For example, money flows from Bitcoin to Ethereum to other altcoins to stable coins, and how that money cycle works is very important to understand. So I think this is the few things that I've learned. Obviously, the main things to follow is diversify your portfolio, diversify your crypto portfolio itself. Don't put all of your eggs in the same basket, as people have told it for ages now. Be in it for the long term. I would ideally suggest against going against trading, because I am personally not a trader. I am a long-term investor and I hodl. So I always see it for the long term. What is crypto or what is Bitcoin going to be in the next 5 years? And if you see that there is a use case behind any of the cryptos that you're investing, be in it for the long term. Even if it's going up and down, don't get phased by it. Always try to be in it for the long term. And obviously for blue chips like Bitcoin, you should always dollar cost average. That is something that I've learned the hard way myself, because I have been trying to time the market myself and it has never worked. I've always seen DCA working much better. So always dollar cost average is the best possible strategy in any of this, including trading. I would say dollar cost average is the best strategy to go forward with.
Amazing, amazing. So that's all great. And I'm sure that our listeners will be fascinated with what you just share. But based on your experience and communication with many experts and ordinary people in the space, what do you think is the main thing that people don't know about the Web3 world?
This is something that I have realized from taxation, actually. If you notice a pattern in many of the countries out there, they have the highest taxation rates for two things. One is gambling and the second one is crypto. Including in my country, it's no different, right? So people do not understand this space, because if something is sufficiently advanced enough, people compare it to magic, right? In the tax expert's case, it would be compared to gambling usually, right? So they don't understand it. They think it's gambling. People are just going to lose their money and the government is just going to get some profits out of it. That is how it is equated to. I think it is important to understand that crypto is not gambling. That is the first thing. And I think that is the best way to learn about it is through your podcast, because that is the message that you want to give it out there, right? For people who are investing in this space. So it is not gambling. There is a strategy behind everything that you're doing. There is a technical reason. There is a fundamental reason for every investment that you're doing. It is important to understand both, just not follow traders who are saying go in this space and go out in that space. That is not going to work out for you. Understand both the use cases, the fundamentals of the coin that you're investing in, understand the technicals of it. And if you feel at a personal level, if your education says, if your research says that this is the right thing to do, I think then you should go for it. That is what I do myself, and that is what I feel others should do as well.
So based on what you are saying, I think that you have answered my question about how a person should do more investing rather than gambling. Is there anything else that you want to add about that?
Yes. So this might not be relevant in every case, but this is something I have learned from a personal experience. So at the peak of the NFT cycle, right? Everybody was talking about NFTs. I forgot my crypto investments. I was like, Bitcoin, it's not going to grow any further. NFTs are the new thing that are coming in. And, I went all in. I used to stay up all night on Discords, chatting up with people, understanding every new project that is coming around, listening to 100 YouTubers talking 100 different things, and how this is going to be the next gem. And to be honest, I never truly found the new next gem. I just ended up with a lot of NFTs in my OpenSea wallet, and it was just that. So I would recommend not going in this space with FOMO, fear of missing out. Just because some Discord is saying, oh, this is going to be the next 100 gem, don't believe everything you say. Do your own research, because especially the NFT market, this is something a guest told me actually. The NFT market is like a fool's market. You kind of have to sell your NFT to the next highest bidder, the next biggest fool, right? So it's not 100% true. It is true only if you're trading, but it is true in some cases when people try to flip their NFTs, right? So NFTs have a different use case. NFTs are not just for flipping. They are definitely there with a use case. They are there with a different purpose. We have seen multiple use cases. POAP, proof of attendance protocol, being one of the biggest use cases of NFTs itself. You must have also heard about Gary Vee's NFTs. Those have been treasured NFTs that people have, right? So NFTs have definitely use cases, but understand the use case first and don't go into any space with any kind of FOMO. I think that would be my advice.
Perfect. So based on your experience and I suppose a lot of mistakes in this space, what do you think is the easiest and the most fun way for people to become part of the world of Web3?
So it depends on different use cases. So I would say if you're going into this world of Web3 with the intention of investing in it, then that's obviously a different use case. So in that case, you understand what coins you're investing in or what projects you're kind of investing in. And there are a lot of resources for that. If you are going to this space to build something, like if you are a developer or you want to create a new Web3 project, which you feel there is a lack of it in the current industry system, you go in with a different use case. There are these platforms which will help you understand how to build smart contracts, for example, right? So understanding how the system works is very different for different people out there. So investing use cases, always try to understand the white papers. If you're going and investing in any project, always try to read the white paper. That will give you the most amount of investing knowledge about it. Go and talk to the community, understand how the community is. Those are the aspects that will help you understand about the project. And for developers, obviously, there will be a different community. There will be people who will help you understand about smart contracts, understand how development works in this space. And that will be a different use case altogether.
Okay, that's nice. So as far as I know, based on our conversation before the recording, you have mentioned to me that you are actively investing in crypto, and right now we are in a bear market, even though some people don't want to agree with that. But have you found a strategy for investing during a bear market that works for you?
I have been trying to find that for a while now. I think everybody will say, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip, but you never know when the dip is, right? You just buy it and it keeps dipping. I've been guilty of doing the same mistakes myself. I still feel, this is just me personally, I still feel dollar cost averaging is the safest way and the best way you can tackle a bear market itself. But having said that, there are some other strategies. So for that, you need to understand the trading space itself, right? So if you're a technical trader, for example, there will be certain indicators that will give you leading indicators of what is going to be like in the next few days or next few weeks, right? So if you're a technical trader like that, go for it. Otherwise, stick to dollar cost averaging. That would be my 2 cents in this space.
Absolutely, I agree with you. I have heard many people talking that if you are starting out, the easiest and the less risky way for you to start would be to do dollar cost averaging, because in most of the cases, people who join don't want to put a lot of money. And I believe that this is the best way to do it, not put all your savings just because someone has told you that crypto is the next big thing. You should start slow and after that increase the money that you put in, because like we always say in crypto, you should invest only those money that you can afford to lose and nothing more than that, because we are in a very volatile space at the moment. I don't know when you are going to listen to this episode. Maybe this day things will be different, but right now when we are recording this with Roy, things are very volatile and there is a good amount of risk even if you are doing a dollar cost averaging. So that's why, like, if you are starting, you should better start slow and then increase your investments.
Another point I would like to add in this space was, this is another investment mistake that I made. I kept some of my investments in exchanges, right? So worst mistake that I can make, in spite of having a hardware wallet myself, I just left it for the growth, the interest they were promising me. And unfortunately, those exchanges are going through cases right now. And this is not just one exchange. This is not a localized problem. This is an international problem, because even Coinbase has said that if they face liquidity challenges, they might actually seize your crypto, which they have with them, right? Just disgusting to hear at some point, right? Because as an investor, you are investing it with some purpose. And if some company which you have invested your hard-earned money into takes away it all. It's just kind of sad to see that kind of a situation arising, right? So always try to keep your own crypto in your own control. That is something that I would advise to your audience.
Amazing. I definitely agree with you. This brings me to the next question, which is like, is this your most expensive mistake that you have done in the crypto world so far?
This is my most expensive mistake that I had. Thankfully enough, this is going to be resolved soon, hopefully. I've been following the case for the exchange that I have invested in, and they have reassured us that this will be resolved. But this is a mistake that I would not want to happen to anybody else. So definitely don't do that mistake again.
Okay, yeah. So from what you are saying, we have learned that it is very, very important to have your crypto in your own hardware wallet, like people say in the crypto space, not your keys, not your crypto. But do you think that there are other things that a starting crypto investor should know in order to have a higher chance of success in this space?
I think one of the important things is to educate yourself. So where you get your education is also important. So definitely don't invest just by anybody's tips. For a new beginner, it is important that you select the right exchange as well. Ensure that the exchange you are buying your crypto from is also a valid and a legitimate one exchange, right? For a new investor, it is always very advisable that you follow all the security norms, which is something like, for example, a two-factor authentication, right? Never try to bypass that two-factor authentication, even though I know it just wastes some of your time and it's a difficult process in itself setting up, but always try to secure your keys with two-factor authentication, and never, ever, ever, as Poe mentioned, never share your keys with anybody else in this space, not even your family for that matter. Always try to keep those keys private and in a position where only people you trust will be able to access it. Do not try to scan and pay on any online channels. That is another advice. I have lost some money due to that as well. People just sending me a QR code and asking me for some money for some purposes, and I've lost some money that way as well. So always ensure that the channel that you're sending it to, you know that person and you know that they are a trustworthy resource. If possible, always try to understand what wallet your money is going to, because you will be able to see the wallet transactions as well, right? So obviously important for that as well. And for new beginners, I would always suggest, if you don't know the new cryptocurrencies that are out there and the new projects that you're trying to invest in, I would suggest sticking to the blue chips. That is something that I have made a mistake myself, thinking this is going to be the next 100x coin and whatnot. But that rarely works. I would always suggest investing in coins which have real world utilities. Bitcoin is a coin with real world utility because it is going to be digital gold, digital money. It's an asset that you can invest in. Ethereum, or for that matter, any programmable blockchain like Solana, Cardano, Chainlink, for example, these are all blue chip cryptocurrencies, right? So these are currencies with real world utility, and that is what you should understand before investing anything in this space. And always, another thing that I would always suggest is, please be aware of scammers. I have not fallen to scams myself, but I have seen other people being afraid of the crypto space because they got scammed. It's very easy to scam someone when you don't know this space properly. So always ensure that you always kind of reach out to people who might have read about scams, or you do your research yourself about scams itself. I have an episode where I talk to a fraud investigation specialist, right? He actually tells us about what kind of scams people have been talking about and the most creative scams that he has seen. So you can go check that out on our podcast if you want. But always beware of scammers. And that is the main advice I would give to anybody who is new to this space.
Yeah, you are mentioning a topic that really hurts me, because I have been scammed a few times. But let's say with a very good amount of money. So it definitely hurts me. I would say like I have lost a solid amount of money, not because I don't know about the space enough, but just because sometimes these scammers are really, really good and they make everything looks perfect, and that the deal is the deal that you want to make right now in this moment, and you don't want to lose it because there is a high chance not to find another deal like that. So you are just biting this and losing all your money in this deal, and they delete everything and disappear. So I think that I can make episode talking probably about 1 hour just about these scammers. So I definitely agree with you that people should be very, very careful. Scammers are very creative. So you shouldn't pull the trigger every moment. Like you have to think more, twice, 3 times, 4, 50 times before you send the money, because sometimes you may lose not only the money that you are sending, but also everything that you have in your wallet. I don't know how they do it, but I have heard that there are some ways to lose all this because of this one transaction. So be careful, do your research, like think many times before doing it. So I definitely agree that people should be very careful with these transactions. So I hope that I haven't scared all of our listeners, but this is the world that we're living in right now. I suppose in the future, there will be a lot of ways to protect yourself from things like that. But like there are a lot of positives in the space, and like scammers want their piece of that. So it's understandable. So we have been talking a lot about crypto investing, mistakes, successful practices, strategies, and things like that. But like I've mentioned many times, there are still much more naysayers than yes-sayers in the real world. So what makes you think that the future of crypto is bright and it won't disappear tomorrow, for example?
In my personal life itself, I have been a person who believes in technology rather than people, because people are subject to change. The blockchain does not. That is the only thing I believe in, to be honest, because the most beautiful thing that actually came out of Bitcoin was not Bitcoin, but it was the blockchain, right? I think a lot of people might go against me because they might say, no, the Bitcoin was the best thing that came out, but I personally feel that the blockchain is what the best thing that came out, because Bitcoin came out. And that is the narrative that I believe in, right? People are building with a particular technological vision in mind, right? And the blockchain is what is supporting it. And I have personally been able to understand the blockchain in some aspects, some technical aspects as well. And I can tell you for sure that it is, at least till quantum computing comes and destroys the blockchain, at least till the time we are definitely safe. And I don't even think the quantum computing is the biggest problem, but that's a separate topic altogether. But point is, the blockchain is a safe space to be in. Your data is safe in that it is not going to be shared with any third party other than the persons you want to share it with. And that is what I believe in. And I understand the technology. I see many human elements being removed because of this technology, right? The 2008 crisis, for example, if that was happening in a DeFi space, I don't think that same thing would have happened, right? Because I don't trust people, I don't trust bankers with my money, to be honest. I trust me to keep my own money with myself, right? And I want to be in control of it at all times. And there have been many instances where I have not been able to trust people with something as important as money, right? And not just money, but my data as well. So I think it's important to understand this space is continuously being developed on. There are real people who are building in this space with real utility, real use cases. And it is important to understand that this space will just grow and it will never go out. So if you're a naysayer, that is all I would say to you. Just believe in the blockchain narrative, even if you don't believe in the Bitcoin narrative.
Absolutely, definitely agree with you on this one. There will always be naysayers and yes sayers, but I think that Bitcoin has proven to all of us that the future is in the blockchain, and there will be a lot of opportunities for the people to use blockchain to solve a lot of the current, not only financial problems. So that's why I'm a really big believer in the great, amazing future of crypto. The same way, like people that have heard for the first time about internet have believed, and today I'm sure that they're very happy that they have done this and they have been using it and leveraging it in the best possible way. Because like one of the great things to be part of something that is just starting out is that it is giving you a lot of opportunities, because it's not that competitive in the beginning, and there are a lot of niches for you, a lot of problems that needs to be solved. So it's definitely a great place to be when something is just starting out and it's going to change the whole world. So I definitely agree with what you just said. So we have been talking a good amount of time, and I think that the time has come to give to our listeners our last words that you want them to hear from you.
Sure. For people who are investing in this space, always have the right mindset. That is the most important thing. Educate yourself. Don't go thinking into crypto thinking, oh, it's easy money and I can just invest and it will go 100x in the next few days or few weeks. That is obviously going to be a scam. I think that we have been exposed to the internet enough to understand scams, but I still see more creative ones coming every other now and then. But never ever going to this space thinking this is easy money. Always educate yourself. Like I said, go through the white papers, go through the projects, understand the project founders, understand their profiles. If they are docs, that is great. Always try to do that. And my personal investing strategy is to go DCA in it. Automate your purchases if required. Invest every week, every day if possible, and diversify your portfolio and manage those risks. I think those are the main things I would suggest for people to educate themselves on. And for people who are actually wanting to build in this space or who want to actually learn from people who are building this space, definitely you should check out some podcasts. Like, for example, Poe's podcast itself is talking about how this space is not just a gamble, it's completely safe space to invest in. You should understand how this thing works, how investing works, and how development in this space works. You can also check out my podcast if you want. We also talk with a lot of founders every week, and we understand their stories and their projects in very simple terms. So that is there. I can also share some resources for you, for people to want, if they want to learn and development in this space, you can share with them as well. So those are the things I would suggest to the audience.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, share them with me and I'll put them on our show notes. And where people can learn more about you, Roy?
The best place would be to reach out to me on Twitter. You can reach out to me at @TheMetaRoy. That is my handle. Or you can just listen to my MetaRoy podcast. Search for it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any platform that you want to see it on. And you can just connect with me on any of my social handles, Twitter being the most preferable one. Definitely, I will be able to help you out and can ask for any advice or any help you need. Everybody in this community is there for you. I just want you to know that you are not alone. So I think that is the most important thing. And we are all there for you to help you. Poe is there. I am there. You can reach out to us at any point of time and we'll be there to help you out.
Amazing. Thank you very much for being part of the show, Roy. It was an amazing pleasure to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it was great having this conversation. I think it's definitely going to help a few people, if not more. I am sorry if some of the things that I've said is too generic, but I think we should always start from the basics. That is the most important thing. And some of the things that I've covered is my own personal experiences, the most basic things that I could share with everybody. But thank you so much for having me. And it was a great pleasure being on your podcast.
big thank you from me, and I'm sure from our listeners too. Thank you very much for all that have listened to this episode. I truly appreciate your support, and I would truly appreciate you more if you subscribe to the podcast, because we have prepared more great guests like Roy. So make sure to subscribe to your favorite platform, and I'll talk to you on the next episode the next week. So I'm Polar, the CMO of Seasonal Tokens, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.